Welcome to our YouTube channel for our last week in our series of Break It Down. And this was a shorter version because of all the things COVID. So if you're stuck at home, if you're in quarantine, watch this video and then make sure to get into our Zoom call. If you don't have that information, you can text me or your leaders and they will have that information for you. I just want to give just a little encouragement to those of you who are watching and just tell you that I know it's hard. I know that virtual is not what you desire. You miss being in community with others. You miss being able to just live your life kind of freely. It's frustrating and it's hard, especially since this is the second time we're having to do this. I just want to encourage you though that don't just give in to the temptation, just sit at home and watch Netflix or TikTok for hours and hours, because it's not life-giving. Even though it's fun for a little bit and it might waste some of your time as you're stuck at home. Text some people, call people, talk to people, because we're designed to talk with other people. So if you're stuck at home, it doesn't mean you can't talk to people still. If you want to just call me or your leader, we would love to do that if you're stuck at home with you. So this is our last series for this school year, because the following weeks we'll be doing small groups. So play the bumper for Break It Down. Think about the last time you had a question and where you went for that answer. Maybe you wanted to know who invented the trampoline, or you didn't watch the Super Bowl, so you gotta know who won the Super Bowl, so you look up who won, or what Starburst candies are actually made of. Where did you go to find that answer? Chances are that you most likely turned to your good old pal, Google, or now coming up in the running, YouTube. So when in doubt, I think we all know that the internet is a place we go for answers for almost anything. And sometimes the answer is exactly what we were looking for, and other times it wasn't necessarily what we thought we would find. And it can even lead us in the completely wrong direction because the answer was wrong. So I know this is one of the things that I found in high school, when I was in high school, and even a little bit today as well. But if you've ever been sick with something and you didn't know exactly what was going on, you could put your symptoms into WebMD and they would tell you what you're most likely dealing with, right? Now they might have fixed these bugs now, but when they first came out, you would put in your symptoms and like you were going to die within a week, even though you just had allergies. Or you were put in these symptoms and it turns out you're pregnant, but I'm indeed a guy, so how am I pregnant? Right? There's all these different things that happened on WebMD that was not true at all and just really scared me about what I'm dealing with being sick, or am I just, having a common cold? So we do this all the time, and I want to make a confession. Sometimes I treat the Bible like I do the internet, where I search the internet to find how to build something, how to make something, or how to fix something. And I know that the internet will have an answer for my question. And when I do that to the Bible, I start searching in the Bible, and sometimes I find exactly what I was looking for. Some encouragement, some wisdom, some help, some kind of answer that was good. And other times I end up being completely lost and confused and frustrated. So maybe you've never turned to the Bible with your questions. Or maybe you're like me and you have used the Bible for a quick, easy way to help you or find an answer to whatever question you had. But either way, I think it's true that when the Bible tells us what we want to hear, we love it. We love to be right. We love to have people tell us we're right. And we especially love to have God tell us we're right when we read the Bible. So if we have a question of, should I be doing this? Was this okay how I did this? And we look to the Bible and it tells us we did the right thing, we love that. And sometimes it does. Sometimes the Bible shares how what we did was what God designed us to do. that we did make the right choice, and the Bible makes us feel great about doing the right choice because it's what it desires for us to do, because that's what God desires us to do. But when we search through the Bible and it tells us something we don't really want to hear, or it doesn't give us a direct answer, or we get frustrated, what do we do then? When we don't find anything that relates to the friend drama we're going through, when we don't find a verse that makes me feel like we were doing the wrong thing, or when we read something that just completely and totally doesn't make sense to you. And I don't know about you, but I know that the Bible is not supposed to do that. The Bible wasn't designed to make you feel frustrated, lost, and confused. It was there to help you to see God clearly. And that's usually when we start to look in other places, when we go to the Bible first, and it didn't answer our question, it left us angry and frustrated, and we go to somewhere else. And it's because we didn't find what we thought we would find in the Bible, or we found something that we didn't want to find in the Bible. And at some point, I bet all of you have asked yourself this question: why would I read the Bible when I can just find answers to my issues or questions on the internet? Which is true. Probably the majority of your questions you have can be found on the internet. Sometimes they may be completely wrong, but other times they might be exactly right. So why would we turn to the Bible if the internet already has it? It's way easier and it's way quicker, right? And if this is what you're thinking, if you're asking yourself that question, I do get it. I get it. It's easier, it's quicker, but finding the answers in the Bible sometimes isn't easy. We don't always feel like it's helping us when we need it to help us, or it doesn't help us when we're reading it. But this isn't the way it's supposed to happen. And the good news is that there is actually an answer to this big question, the question of why we are supposed to read the Bible. And it's an answer that I think will help you understand how to read it better and how to approach the Bible in a way that it was designed to be approached. And one of my favorite books in the Bible is called the Book of Psalms. And Psalms is all these writings of people that were going through hard circumstances or great circumstances, really just anything that we would have come close to in our life. And they write about how their relationship with God looked like in those moments. And one of the main authors of the Book of Psalms is King David. And King David had a lot of stuff happening in his life. You know, anything about David, there were so many highs and lows in King David's life. And he wrote songs and poems and prayers to God that we're able to read. And one of those writings that David wrote is in the book of Psalms 119, and it says, "Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path." So just think for a moment. When you go into your room and it's dark outside and it's dark in your room, what do you immediately do first? You turn on your light because you want to be able to see, because you don't want to walk in, trip over your dirty laundry or trip over the books that are scattered around your room. You turn on the light to see where you're walking and that you don't have to trip over things. And it helps you see the whole picture of your room. So when night comes, you have to use the light to show you the path to take when navigating around all the tripping hazards in your room. And if the Bible was designed to help us see, and that God's word is a light to our path, it means that the Bible helps us see more clearly. It guides us in the right direction. It shows us the whole picture. It doesn't just help us see the answer that we were just looking for in that moment. It tells us the answer and guides us in a way that is for the long game instead of the short game. So simply put, the Bible gives us wisdom. It gives us judgment on how we are to approach the choices we make. It gives us what path we are to take in our lives. The Bible doesn't just give a bunch of answers. The Bible is not a book of answers. It is a book that provides guidance and wisdom that is directly from God to you. God's word was written first to the people that were reading it and who wrote it in the context it was there. But God's word is always true. It doesn't change, which means that the Bible is able to be trusted in our own life today as well. And if the Bible helps us see more clearly, the Bible has the potential to help us both now, right now, but also even in the future. And sometimes we find the wisdom we were looking for right away, and it was what we expected to find. And other times we find wisdom that wasn't what we thought we would find or what we didn't want to hear. But regardless, God's word is what we should be following, and how we're able to know that we're following God's heart and not our own. But sometimes the Bible doesn't directly answer all of our questions. Sometimes we have questions about our dating life, friend drama, or what to do with this homework that we have that we don't know what to do with stress from all these different things. It doesn't directly answer those specific circumstances, but it does answer how to deal with stress, how to deal with hardship from other people, how to protect yourself from sin. It talks about all these things, and they do have answers to all of our questions, but may not be directly answered to our circumstance. So picture yourself back in your room. It's dark, you haven't turned the light on, and when you're trying to find your way around all the things on your floor, you're trying to get to your bed, you're trying to make sure you don't trip over a thing or stub your toe. Do you get to the place you were going and then turn the light on, or do you turn the light on to make so you get to where you were going? All of us would agree that we turn the light on before we start walking in the dark, instead of getting to the place and then turning the light on. And I think that's the best way for us to use the Bible as a light to our path. And in Psalms 119, just before this passage you just read earlier, it says, "I have hidden your word in my heart." And hiding God's word in our hearts means that we keep it with us. It means that we memorize it, we know it, we learn it, and we know it, and it stays with us. So when we need it, it's already there. We don't have to find it in the oh no moments. We already have it there. We don't have to scramble or wonder before to find the answer. We already have it because we looked at it before we even needed it. So remember, the Bible helps us see more clearly. So here's my challenge to all of you. Don't treat the Bible like a quick fix or an outline search engine. Don't wait until you're desperate and things are falling apart. Go to the Bible in the good times so that when the bad times come, you already know what wisdom God has given you. If we use it to see more clearly, if we use it to seek God's wisdom in everyday circumstances, it'll be how God designed the Bible to see us. If we treat it like a book that has been given to us and has been invited, that they invite us by a friend who wants to help and guide you and provide wisdom, if we treat it like that, the Bible is going to be read the way it was supposed to be read. So this week, I want you to accept the invitation that God has already given you to read the Bible, to seek out wisdom that is from God. So here's just 3 steps that you can try this week and continually do that after this week. So if this is your first time ever reading the Bible, don't just sit down and plan to read it for 2 hours. It probably won't go well for you. You'll feel more confused than when you came in. And don't try to read a whole book of the Bible in one sitting, and you may not even want to read a whole chapter. Start with just 10 minutes. And before you get to those 10 minutes, take a moment to just stop, breathe, and rest. Don't scramble and frantically look to the Bible. Take a moment to just sit and let all the things, distractions around you come to a stopping point for just a moment. And allow yourself to read what God has spoken to you. If you've never opened the Bible, start with the book of Psalms if you're looking for wisdom. Psalms has so many great wisdom pieces that we can use from God that are from people just like you who didn't know what to do and were going through hard circumstances, or were going through great times of joy and wanted to know how to express that joy that God wanted them to. Or if you want to look at the life of Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John share about Jesus' life. Or if you don't know where to start at all and these may not sound right, talk to your small group leader and they would love to point you in the right direction. Just try for 10 minutes to sit down and listen to God's word. And after you do that, talk to someone about it. All the writings in the New Testament were written and then they were talked about. No one was taking it home, reading it in their room, and then it was done. They all read it in the public square together and they talked about it as a community of believers. So after you read whatever you read, talk about it with someone. It can be with one of your friends that you may read together. It can be with a leader. It can be with your parents. It can be with whoever that you want to talk to about it with. And lastly, memorize it. Pick just one verse from whatever you read and try to commit it to memory. So that in the times that you need this wisdom, you don't have to frantically scramble to find that passage. You already have it hidden in your heart. Because remember, the Bible helps us see more clearly. And when we approach the Bible to see God, to see how we are to live, to see how we can be like Jesus, the Bible will always have those answers. Because that's the Bible's purpose. God's word to share a light into your life.